Well, Razorback fans, the ultimate question that a lot of you are asking with this football team is, has Sam Pittman done enough? Has he earned the right to keep his job for next season? Well, let's talk about on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast, THB 11 Tuesday.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I'm also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. It's a very special edition of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast today, as it is a THV 11 Tuesday. And we are going, of course, welcome in Nick Luttrell. See that?
Yeah.
See that? I got it.
Better every time, man.
I'm telling you, pretty soon I'm going to have it like spelled right. I'm going to have it like memorized to where more than my own name. But he's down there at THB 11 in Central Arkansas area. But Nick, appreciate you joining us. How you doing this afternoon, man?
Yeah, of course. I'm doing good. It's staying warm here in Central Arkansas, which is kind of nice. It's a lovely 72 degrees. It was a little colder when I visited Fayetteville over the weekend, but it's been nice. Weather's still good, so it's all good.
Well, I know football season is still going on. You got 2 games left for the Razorbacks, Louisiana Tech this Saturday, and of course next Saturday up in Columbia against Missouri. But Arkansas sits at 5-5. They're 3-4 in SEC play, and really at this point in time, Razorback fans are just about: is Sam Pittman staying or is Sam Pittman going? So the discussion I wanted to have and the question I want to have you is just knowing Sam Pittman in his 5th year, there is a chance that he could go 8-5. I think both these games are pretty winnable. Not saying they will, but they are winnable games. 8-5, 4-4 in conference play with a bowl win. Sounds pretty good. But do you feel like right now where it stands at this point in time, has Sam Pittman done enough to earn another season as the Razorback head coach next year?
Oh, I'm gonna lean towards no. It's so hard, and I know what we do for a living is speculating before decisions have to be made. And like you said, they could go 8-5, and my whole perspective would change because, you know, even if they go 8-5, their wins besides Tennessee haven't been that impressive this season. But still, that's an 8-win team. But you know, it's hard to say where things are at right now. I think you can correct me on this. I think he's 2 games under 500 as a coach at Arkansas. And when I look at that as an overall record, that doesn't cut it for an SEC program. And you know, and he's had 5 years. He's had 5 years to do it. And you know, I guess the first year was more of a COVID year and they didn't play the full schedule and everything. And he's had a couple big wins in his, you know, coaching career. But what it comes down to is games like we saw Saturday against Texas, where it's a close game and Arkansas just doesn't have the athletes to compete with a team like Texas. And frankly, they really have never had the athletes that have been able to compete with a team like Texas. That's just kind of how the history goes of a team like Arkansas. They're a big school and they're in the SEC, but they've always been a team that has never been towards the top of the SEC, at least having those type of athletes that the other top teams have. You know, I think that's the struggle with Arkansas as a program. I mean, we can get into the whole NIL conversation and how that's really the future. And I don't know the specific numbers on all of that, but I don't know if that's really headed in the right direction either. And, you know, it's certainly not a good thing when, you know, you're driving from, let's say, Central Arkansas to Fayetteville and you see a billboard that says, all right, great 5 years, Coach Pittman, it's time to move on. That's not really a good thing if you're someone from your fan base, whatever lunatic decided to put that up. When someone decides to put that up and is not too confident in your team and your program. So, yeah, I don't know if he's earned the right to have another year. If I'm going to guess right now, I think he will be back next year, but I don't know if he really deserves to be back.
So when you were going into the season, I think like every Razorback fan had an expectation, and it's been all up and down all around. It's kind of like for Sam Pittman, you know, what he's going to end up possibly winning 4 games in the SEC, which is 3 more than he won a year ago. He is going to go to a bowl game. It's weird because I'm not disagreeing with you. I understand like why a lot of fans want him gone, but it is still kind of strange if you think about the amount of improvement that they made from a year ago. In most cases, you feel like it would be all right. Well, he's going in the right direction. Let's see what next year it provides. but it doesn't seem like it's that vibe. Like people just feel like they're done with it, and regardless of what could have happened this season.
Yeah, and I think if this was year 2 or 3, and it's like, okay, maybe his first year was last year. Let's say this is his second year. You're thinking, okay, he's headed in the right direction, and then next year could definitely be a really good year for the Hogs if you have Taylon Green coming back and another year under Bobby Petrino. I see the optimism there, but again, it's year 5, and I think unfortunately, just how people are, they get restless after a certain amount of years, and 5 years is almost seems like a long time to be a head coach in the SEC now. So I just don't know, but I am seeing what you're saying there on it. There is some optimism with this program, and I think there's definitely 2 ways to look at it there.
And also with these next 2 games, Louisiana Tech is a team that Arkansas should beat. It's their final home game. But then you get into Missouri, just knowing what this team is now, which is hard to figure out. I have no idea what to expect. But do you believe that they can, are you leaning towards them winning these last 2? Or do you think it's just for one game and get to bowl eligibility?
I think they can win the last 2. I think obviously they should win against Louisiana Tech. It wouldn't surprise me if they win by 4 touchdowns. It wouldn't surprise me if they win by a touchdown. But I do think they'll get the win, whether it's ugly or it's pretty, because that's how home games have been. And I hope it doesn't go similar to the UAB game, but it could. But I do think it'll be a win. And then Mizzou, they're 7-3 this year, and they haven't played anybody really. They haven't played the competition that Arkansas has played, and so they're a team that it's 2 weeks left in the year, and I still don't know, is Mizzou really that good? I know they aren't as good as what we thought going into the year as far as a playoff team, and I know they had a game or 2 without their starting quarterback, so that certainly changes things a lot. But Arkansas does get that chip on their shoulder when they play road games. I feel like it's kind of been a minute since they played a big, challenging road game. They had Mississippi State, and that was an easy win. They had Auburn, and they got past them, and so I think this year in the SEC, they haven't had that big SEC game. And especially if this is a game where you can bolster your image for for what bowl game you want to have in a couple weeks after that game, I think it'll mean a little something to the players, especially, say what you want about the battle line rivalry that's been trying to get built up into something it really isn't. I think it's become more of a rivalry over the years, and I think that amps it up for some of the players. It's not a rivalry that's as big as a Texas or even a Texas A&M for the Razorbacks, but I do think it's there, especially for maybe some of the younger generation. Like when I think about as a little bit of a fan, like which team I dislike the most, I think Missouri might be up there, just because of. I don't know where the hatred for fans comes from with Eli Drinkwitz, but I think it's there a little bit, Yeah,
I don't think you're the only one that feels that way, but we will talk a little bit more about not only Arkansas, but going some basketball and an interesting game that they have coming up this Friday. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I got to tell you about the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pulled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits that lead to massive change. And with the Roy app, you can direct your support to athletes you love, ensuring that all the funds go to a specific player that you choose. The best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver on the content, you get your money back. Because unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going. And you even get to receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. This week, I've decided that Steven Dix is going to be the player I support. I just pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. So let's show Steven Dix a little bit of love and what he was able to do so far this year and keep him connected to the Razorbacks. And remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support helps the team set them up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter a referral code Locked On, and you're entered. Already on Roy? Any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered in automatically. No purchases necessary. Void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game and no subscription and no fees. And be sure to check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return_on_you for more info. Roy, support the players and change the game. We're also brought to you by Mint Mobile. We all know we love a great idea as much as the next person, but there's no hoops, there's no BS. When Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, it's absolutely true. It's as easy to get that with a $15 a month plan. And the longest part of the process is the time that you will spend waiting to break up with your old provider. As simple as that. So to get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's where you'll see right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. So to get the new customer offer on your new 3-month premium wireless plan, for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower than 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details with Mint Mobile. We're continuing our discussion here on a THB 11 Tuesday on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast with Nick Luttrell of THB 11. So, Nick, moving it over to basketball, I'm kind of over talking about attendance because that seems like all that's been on people's minds. But you also have a game against Little Rock this upcoming Friday night in Bud Walton Arena. It's an 8 p.m. game, but then later you have a game against UCA down there in Little Rock, or North Little Rock, I should say. So it's kind of crazy to think there was a time where Arkansas wouldn't play any in-state schools, but how much does that mean to the Central Arkansas area of not only playing games against the Razorbacks with those Central Arkansas schools, but in the case of the UCA game, also having the game in Central Arkansas itself?
Yeah, I mean, sorry to go back to your attendance. I know you wanted to stop talking about attendance, but I think something like that does really improve the attendance, because obviously you have more people in state. An opponent like this that a lot of people, even in Northwest Arkansas, that maybe have never watched or focus much on Little Rock men's basketball or UCA, they're probably going to want to come to the game more than they would want to do against a team like Pacific. But, I think it's cool. Basketball seems to be really growing in the state of Arkansas. And you look at all the, at least in recent years, some of the players who have played here in Arkansas and are born in Arkansas and then go on to play for the Razorbacks or for Little Rock. You think of the Moses Moody's, the Isaiah Joes, guys who are, from the Fort Smith area, the Central Arkansas area, that have playing in the pros now. So, I think that stuff, that part of it is really cool. And I think playing in-state opponents continues to grow that, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and even throwing in the case of the various opponents that you can play in Arkansas, and just the love of basketball. Think back like KK Robinson. I know he's been dealing with injury, but it's like him being there at Little Rock. I think last year was Mikel Mitchell, who was also there at Little Rock. Joseph Pinion over at Arkansas State. So it's even like the connections still are not only from kids that are come from and out of the state of Arkansas, but also that maybe started Arkansas and transferred to stay in state. There's a lot of players that have done that, and in a lot of cases, it's really worked out for them that way too. Yeah.
And then I kind of going off your point there, I know the Razorbacks play like UCA and Little Rock, like we just talked about, but they don't have Arkansas State scheduled. And I don't know, my knowledge isn't very high up on the last time they played Arkansas State, but not that I can remember in recent years. And that would have been a really fun game to watch this year, because Arkansas State is probably a top 20 mid-major team right now. They're playing really good. And you mentioned, some of the players that they had that were former Razorbacks or Arkansas natives like Joseph Pinion, and that's playing really well for them. And they're a team that a week or two ago took Alabama down to the wire. That's the Alabama team that is like number 2 or 3 in the nation. So it's too bad the Razorbacks aren't playing Arkansas State, but Little Rock, I think they could put up a challenge with the Razorbacks. I don't know if they're a team that could pull off the upset. I think people thought the Trojans were going to be really good this year, and now not having KK Robinson out indefinitely is what we've been told. So that really puts a damper on the team that was picked to win it all in their conference for this year. But I still think they could put up a challenge against the Hogs on Friday night. And again, I think hopefully those attendance numbers go up. It's always hard to tell on a Friday night too. You still got high school football going on. You got some big games in the Northwest Arkansas area. But you would assume that there's maybe the biggest crowd, at least in the past few non-conference games, for this one.
Well, it wouldn't take much for it to be a bigger crowd, I can tell you that. But I do believe, though, that the connection of having a home football game and a home basketball game
Yeah.
so close together could definitely help out and could definitely be a pretty big difference. But still, it's this Razorback basketball team. They're good. I feel like everyone knows they're good. But man, not having Trevon, Brazile, and Jonas Aidoo, especially in the game last night, which they should have beaten Pacific by 50. They did hit like 10 of 11 to start from 3, which was really a difference maker. But that's the thing that they got to focus in right now, I believe, is getting Trevon, Brazile, and Jonas Aidoo healthy as possible.
Oh yeah, that's a big part. And I didn't even see. I mean, you and me both were at in Pine Bluff at the little tip-off tour that they had. Aidoo, I don't think was a part of it at all. Or if he did stuff, it was just very small drills. So, and at that point, I was like, all right, he's fine. He'll get in there in a few weeks. And still, we haven't seen him really at 100%. But when he is on the court, like when I first I think it was their first or second game when he actually got playing time, I was like, oh, this guy's good. Like just his size difference makes all the difference in the world. And so you could see it last night without the Hogs only having that one big man, and it's Big Z. And, he's good, but he's kind of skinny and he might get bodied around when they actually have to play bigger teams. So I don't know if Little Rock really poses a huge threat on them down low, but they probably pose more of a threat than Pacific. And so I think definitely having, without having your two out of your 3 big guys in the game, and two guys that could definitely easily be starters ahead of Big Z. And that's saying something, because Z has definitely played good this year and played good, especially the last 2 games. So they need to get healthy. I think it'll be okay not to have those guys for the next few games, but you look at next week, they got Illinois, and that's like an actually good Division I Power 4 basketball team that they should beat, but we'll see.
Well, Nick, before I let you get out of here, what's going on here at THB 11? I know you got playoffs there in the high school football ranks, and it's a busy time around the Thanksgiving weekend. But what all you guys got going on down there?
Yeah, it is. We got our last Friday night blitz this upcoming Friday night, which stinks. I wish we could do it all the way to the playoffs, but kind of conflicts with Thanksgiving next week and everything. So we'll have that this Friday night. As we just talked about, we're covering a lot of Little Rock men's basketball, their women's basketball team as well. UCA has been doing good, and of course got the Hogs that we're putting a lot of coverage into as well. We'll be at the game this Saturday. Hopefully the Razorbacks can secure that bowl win and see Larry the bowling ball come out. And then we'll be in Kansas City next week for those big games as well against Illinois. So a lot of coverage. It's a lot of fun. It's an exciting time of the year, especially for football. We're hopefully going to get that bowl game and see where the program is at. If they lose, then everything changes with the program. And then basketball with the Razorbacks, we're still trying to figure out what this team is really made of. So it's an exciting time to be covering them for sure.
Will definitely be interesting over the next few weeks. That is Nick Luttrell. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter at Nick Ludy, and you can check him out on THV 11 down there in the Central Arkansas area. But as always, Nick, appreciate you joining us. Enjoy, and in case we don't talk to you, have a happy Thanksgiving, man. We'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks, John.